a perspective changer, because now I look back and I'm like, education is key. Education is absolutely vital. But it seems that not everyone grows old and realizes that. Apparently, there's some people in power who can make the education system work better, who clearly don't see it that way. And that's why we find ourselves in predicaments that we could have avoided and we shouldn't really be in. And that's part of the conversation we are about to have this morning right here on Capital in the Morning with myself, Chiko, and the lovely Fellaris. Good morning.
Good morning. Now, before we get into the conversation, because we have ourselves not only a parent, but a doctor and a researcher on matters education. So what better person to have this conversation with? Looking at the front page of the Daily Nation, which you ought to grab a copy, because this, like I said, should be concerning all of us. 800,000 senior school learners are still at home. Only about 300,000 of the 1.1 million junior school graduates have reported to their respective senior schools since Monday, with the low turnout blamed on several factors, including cash constraints and the last-minute quest to change institutions. Now, amongst the things that have been looked at as the constraints are fees. So schools are demanding payment of fees in full, some of for the entire year. We have transfers, waiting for slots in schools where some students don't report. Then we have travel, and then last we have bursary. Now, that paints a picture to what we've been having a conversation on since the beginning of the year, since 5th January, and I believe this is far from solved. So, question here is, how did we even get here in the first place? We had people in studio last week where we unpacked it, looked at what the last 10 years have been, what the transition has been, but also how do we get out of it? We need to speak to the solutions.
Absolutely. PS, Basic Education PS, Bitok actually came out and said that we have enough facilities in terms of classrooms, invested heavily the government in terms of laboratories and any equipment that will basically help the kids be hands-on, because that's what the CBE is all about, right? And then goes on to say that it's a slow intake. Don't worry. I know the numbers don't look very good. Of the number you said from 1.3 million, you only have about 118,000 who have reported as of the day before yesterday as well. And he said by the end of the week we will have quite the number. This is usual. Nothing to panic about. Luckily for us, apart from being a manager of research, he is also, for Zizi Afrique, as Fellaris said, Zizi Afrique Foundation, he's also a parent of a grade 10 learner. That's the man that's in the house. His name, Dr. Charles Gachoki. Good morning. And I guess the first thing after welcoming you is to ask a question. Is your child in school right now?
Yes, my name is Charles. Thank you so much, Lawi. Yes, my name is Charles Gachoki. I rarely use the doctor prefix, so call me Charles. Yes, my child is in school in grade 10, reported on Monday, but it is because I could afford the fees and all that. So I'm lucky to be able to afford that and recognize that not every parent could. There are people even who children were admitted in certain schools, but they did not change because of the changes we were talking about. They changed because when they saw the fee structure, they are like, no, I can't report there.
Yeah.
So they go back to the drawing board and they look at the figures in the household.
It's something Fellaris used. It's a phrase she used once, and I think it's very fitting. Guinea pig kind of situation where this is a new frontier. So as a parent whose child has made it to school, talk us through some of the intrigue, some of the challenges, what you had to do, and anything new in terms of experiences as you ensure that your son leading up to your child going to school.
The problem I have here is because I'm seated here as a parent and as a researcher representing an organization, Zizi Afrique. So I don't know when I'll be talking as a parent and when I'll be talking as an organization, so that the positions are not conflicting. Because sometimes they can. Reason being, sometimes it's frustrating when the child comes home with an assignment and you are like, did the teacher really look at the assignment and imagine it can be done even over the weekend? Did they really think about it, or they just opened the textbook on that day and said, okay, today you're going to do this at home, and just go. So that's one of the issues that I've had. The other one is communication. It seems like, as a parent, here I'm speaking as a parent, it seems like the child doesn't know what is to be done, so I also don't know. And when I ask the teacher says, we are waiting for the government to tell us. So we are all in a mess, and it's the most frustrating thing is when you're helpless with your child. So when the child is looking at you and you're like, you also don't know, you mean? So that is, when you're talking of the guinea pig, I think what ought to have been done is very proper communication. Because not these last minute communication. Sometimes it is incomplete. You see a lot of proliferation of social media, people talking about CBC, because that's the only place parents can sometimes get information. You look at TikTok, so many people are advising on pathways, on strands. Being there's no streamlined form of communication. You don't know who would you ask if you were to leave this house, this studio now, and go, who would you ask if your child, so there's no certainty in that. The worst is, you're asking me as a parent, we've just seen, read what the situation is. Who knows when the kids will be facing university? So it is just 3 years away from today. So, that's the communication I'm talking about. I don't know as a parent, how will they select them? Nobody is still certain. So that's how I answer that. That's experience that I have to. One in grade 6, one now entered grade 10. And that's the situation has been the same. It is worse with the grade 10 because the grade 4, at least we know what is happening, the one ahead. But with the grade 10, we are charting new waters, and seems like even the teachers, remember they are teaching the first cohort, so everybody is, including school administrators in the regional levels, county, the ministry itself, they are also dealing with the first cohort.
It's interesting. I remember, was it Sosyon or someone I was talking to? I think it was someone else I was talking to who said a very interesting statement, said that, listen, back in the day, much or elderly person, back in the day coming into the 844 system from the previous system, there were also a lot of challenges, a lot of hiccups, and a lot of doubts. Could that be the case here? We're feeling our way through the 844 system?
Yes, but what does it say about us not learning? We've been there then before. We had the self-sponsored students at university. We have had double intakes. We have had. So is it that we don't learn? Or what does it mean? Now, these kids left primary and joined junior secondary. Remember, we had the same kind of, uncertainty. All of if you say so, if we call it so. Now we have it at grade 10. Now we are waiting for it in 2029 as they join university. So is it that we don't learn? That's the question that would bother me. That why don't we learn? Why can't we do something straight? Like show we improved. So that's we are facing the same, actually the same magnitude of I wanted to call it a crisis because it's a new thing, but we are facing the same kind of challenge. And it really questions the people behind it, us researchers, policymakers, and including teachers. When children come into a school and you say the children don't have enough facilities, but you're the one who admitted them. When you say children have not reported because of transport, sometimes because of rain. Remember, we have had to delay opening schools because of rain. Can't we map? How do we use data? Can't we map schools and how children move? In 2025, we don't know how children move, which days are heavy, those are issues that can look at in 2025.
You know what, Fellaris, maybe Charles now can, Charles Gachoki can take off the parent hat and put on that manager research Zizi Afrique Foundation as we move forward, because now we want to evaluate the CBC or CBE in practice.
You know, as he's speaking and, looking at the transition from, getting into 844, and now that there was that experience, did remind me of that very famous quote by Albert Einstein, is insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. And we're seeing the very definition of insanity by how things are playing out right now. But now looking at you as an stakeholder within the education space, you're a researcher, what would you say are the critical gaps you've observed in CBC implementation across the Kenyan schools? It's been running for how long now? About 3 years?
Yeah.
A policy is as good as communication. Even in this organization you work for, a policy can be so good, but how is it communicated to the people and to the stakeholders? So, government has never been the best communicator. So, because it has a structured way of communicating to all types of people. I think we can improve on communication. This is from government to parents and schools, and from schools to parents. It's all across. I'm not blaming one body. The other gap is that we are having is the cost. Sometimes that cost is not again a cost by government. Sometimes it is a planning, because once a teacher gets a textbook, they can see the projects that are in the textbook way ahead. So they can actually plan with the parents that these are the materials you need for the year. But not the haphazard and the surprising thing of, hey, you are supposed to make this.
Yeah.
And then you are wondering, when do I get CISO in Nairobi? So the cost implication, and it also goes to resources in the classroom. They are costly. Reagents, tools like planes, saws, anything in the workshop and the labs. The other thing is, the other gap is investment itself. When we changed to this system, we knew it would be expensive. Expensive on the side of government, the capital we need to put down. This, I'm talking about play fields. If we are talking about the pathway, sports pathway and arts, you need to invest in such kind of equipment. If you're going to have creative arts, and we knew that. We're the ones who drew that proposal for that change. Playing grounds, they are the same way you went to your primary school. Probably it's still in the same condition. Labs, classrooms, do they remain the same as they were? Did they change? So that's also another issue, investment in that area. The other issue is...
PS Basic Education Bitok says that they have invested heavily in terms of infrastructure for classrooms and laboratories. Nothing mentioned of the things that you're bringing up, which I brought up to William Olson Sosion just, was it last week? I think. And he was left without an answer as well.
The other issue is the quality assurance aspect. And investment in data. How have we tracked this class since they did their first exam in grade 3, grade 6, and up to now that they have done grade 9? How are we utilizing that data? What is it telling us? Or are we just doing the same old thing of, these results, we have this data, we have this enrollment, that's it?
Actually, Charles Gachoki, it's good that you've brought that up, because it leads me to two things I'd like you to break down for us. In your research, what you've experienced, not just as a researcher, but also in terms of as a parent, because you are a parent of what we're calling the guinea pig era, right? So you're talking about data, which is vital, which then leads me to ask you, you spoke about from government to schools, from schools to parents, that pathway. And the one thing that I don't think we're asking loudly enough is, what about the policy as designed trickling down to the students? Is it according to the way it was designed? Is it being delivered to students in that way? Which then would bring me to the second part of the question, which you teased to, following that pathway. You said grade 3 exams, grade 6 exams, and grade 9 exams. And it just begs the question, have we really changed the system, or have we repackaged it, these exams, in just a different kind of way? Or is the system actually changed to empower these students?
Actually, the issue you're raising is one of also of the gaps I was to mention, which is reverting back to exams. Yeah, we've honestly, to be very honest, we've reverted back to exams. If you go around this country right now, this week or next week, you'll find children doing open exams.
Yes.
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 Surprisingly, including pre-primary children. You find a whole school doing exams.
Exams, yeah.
So what does that tell you? It tells you that we're still back to exams. Even with the CBC, we were
Actually,
told
more
in
exams
grade
now.
9, 60% accounts for your grades. That means you focus on the 60%. It's like if you're told in the studio, 60% of your performance will come from how you clean this desk,
It'll
then
be
you know where you focus your energy. So schools focus on that. So, and if you really look at it, you'll see that schools have also decided they still do termly exams. Even the year they have a NEC exam, grade 3 and grade 6. So they will still do the NEC exam and still have the school exam.
Yeah.
So we are still there. And again, the other thing is we still in exam because how did we place learners? We were still talking of points. If you walk out here, they will ask you, how many points did your child score? So we're still back to, we are not even back, we're still stuck in that system. Isitoshe, we still have the multiple choice questions. Yeah, those are some of the issues. Yeah, we still. So sometimes you wonder whether it is not the way it was designed, but the implementation. Again, because I said, how is it communicated, and how are the people skilled to implement that that policy? You can have a new policy and still continue having the same old people to implement that policy. Either you reskill them or you change them.
You touch on a very important thing, which Wilson Sosion and two other stakeholders who were here just the other day spoke about, which is the teacher training aspect of it, the facilitators of this particular curriculum, is that they're still the same teachers that were facilitating 844 and now have transitioned to something new. So even the training aspect, I mean, taking a teacher and training them for 2 weeks and expecting them to be readily equipped to help with the transition, then that's where we're seeing the gaps. So again, does it mean we got it all wrong from the very beginning? Because we're already here, it's already happening.
Yeah, we don't have to argue about that. But actually, that's a good angle to come back with. Like Fellaris said, it is all down to, and of course Charles Gachoki has pointed out, down to equipping these teachers. We're coming back with that one right now. We want to touch on traffic, your roads, give you some sports, come back and continue this conversation with Dr. Charles Gachoki, who is a manager, research, Zizi Afrique Foundation, also a parent of a grade 10 student. We'll come back, talk teachers, and talk about something else that is very interesting, which he actually alluded to early. When a teacher gives you or the student homework, do they actually look at it, evaluate it, and imagine that this can actually be done over a weekend? Which has brought the question that abounds heavily, yet very silently. Have we just shifted focus or burden from the teachers to the parents? Now the burden lies on you, mainly when it comes to this education. That will be interesting to hear the opinion of Dr. Gachoki coming up soon.
Capital FM presents The Dance Republic, your passport to the dopest beats on the planet. From the rhythm of Afro House, to the bounce of three-step, to the smooth energy of Amapiano, to pure, unfiltered house music bliss. This is the soundtrack to your Friday night, right here on 98.4 Capital FM. Hosted by your selector, your vibe dealer, your commander on the dance floor, DJ UV. Fridays from 9 to 11 p.m. Only on 98.4 Capital FM. Friday nights. You don't go to the party, you become the party. The Dance Republic. One nation under a groove. Capital Traffic and Travel.
Well, good morning. If you are on the road, I hope at least you're enjoying the conversation that we're having right here, especially if you're a parent driving back from school. Oh, that school run, that school run. Hope it wasn't as bad as it usually gets. This morning, though, it was problematic for a few people, especially if you were using the Wayakiwe Red Hill Link Road, which as usual is full of drama, whether it's just no more traffic or water trucks have tilted over. You still experience a lot of delay. 20-minute delay along that route. 8-minute delay along James Gishuru Road. That's just refused to ease up until right now. This entire morning from about 7 o'clock, it's been a bit dramatic, hasn't it? Drama on that road. Outer Ring Road also not spared either. Only that one's faster, up to 5-minute delays. Any incident or accident that you see along those roads or any other road in the CBT or across our country, let us know. 0701 984 984. That's what's up, by the way.
Capital Traffic and Travel. Capital Sports Update, where sports is taken seriously.
Well, might as well get used to my voice doing the sports. Kakamega Sports Club professional Dismas Indiza took early control of the 9th leg of the Sunshine Development Tour East Africa swing after carding an impressive 5 under par 66 in the opening round at Thika Greens Golf Resort yesterday. A three-way tie for second place on 3 under par was shared by Nyeri Golf Club's Mutahi Kibogo, Limuru Country Club's Taimur Malik, and Uganda's Willie Deus. Joint fifth place on the 2 under par was shared by Muthaiga Golf Club's Greg Snow, Zimbabwe's visitor Mapwanya, and Mohit Medirata. Now, despite losing all their matches thus far, Kisumu RFC head coach Howard Okwemba is determined to make the Kenya Cup playoffs. Okwemba says the team will fight to the end to ensure a first ever playoff position in the history of the Brave Hearts. The team's turbulent start to the 2025-26 season includes 4 losses to Nonde's KCB Rugby, Menengai Oilers, and Cabras Sugar. Sadio Mane scored the winner as Senegal beat Egypt to reach the final of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations, and Mohamed Salah's hopes of winning his first continental title in Morocco. Wait, Salah has never won the... Never?
Nope.
Never?
No, the Egyptian king is
I'm
without
shocked.
a crown.
Oh, wow. Well, that's sad. Mane struck the only goal of a KG contest with 12 minutes remaining in Tangier, firing a right-footed shot inside the left-hand upright after the ball broke to him outside the box. Now, it marks the 3rd occasion that the Senegal forward has got the better of his former Liverpool teammate in a high-stakes international match. In the late kickoff, host Morocco edged out Nigeria 4-2 on post-match penalties after a goalless draw in regulation time to book a battle of lions in Sunday's final. Now, that's going to be an epic one. And finally, in the international scene, Arsenal will take a narrow advantage into the second leg of their Carabao Cup semi-final after a frantic 3-2 first leg with a win at Chelsea. Goals from Ben White, Victor Gyökeres, and Martin Zubimendi saw the Gunners take victory at Stamford Bridge, but Alejandro Garnacho struck on 2 occasions after coming off the bench. These footballers have very difficult names, but Arsenal will have belief they are on track to reach Wembley and end Mikel Arteta's record of losing their last 4 two-legged semi-final ties in the Spain. And that's your Capital FM Sports. More sports coming your way at 12:30.
Capital Sports Update. Up to the minute sports, where sports is taken seriously.
Let's have one final test. Throw the switches. Good morning.
Your morning dose of news, fun,
I have music in my life with Sam.
Allow me to demonstrate.
and all the hits with Chiko and Fellaris. Right here on 98.4 Capital FM.
Hi, recommend getting your hot traveled on to anyone. Yeah. Oh. Hi, recommend walking around naked in your living room. sticking your foot in your mouth at any time. Feel free. Hold it down. The lotion knocks you from the bed. Hold it up to the race. You wait and see when the smoke clears. You live, learn, you love, you learn, you cry, you learn, you lose, you learn, you bleed, you learn, you scream, you wear it out. They held it down. You're gonna have to eventually. The fire trucks are coming up around the bend. You live, you learn, you love, you learn, you cry, you learn, you lose, you learn, you bleed, you learn, you scream, you learn, you grieve, you learn, you choke, you learn.
Alanis Morissette with You Learn, unless, of course, you're in Kenya, where, as Charles Gachoki has pointed out, we refuse to learn, and we do the same thing. And like Fellaris reminded us, Albert Einstein said, expecting a different result is the very definition of insanity. So good morning, my fellow insane Kenyans. We have refused to learn, and here we are. I guess the best place is to go right back to the teachers that Fellaris was talking about.
Yes, the teachers being the key facilitators of this. And, Chiko did point out something that, got me thinking, did we just transfer the responsibility? I did ask a question to one of the stakeholders that we had last week. What happens to the kids in boarding school? Who's helping them in terms of the facilitation aspect of it? Because they're still going through the same curriculum, only that they don't have guardians and parents with them. So who bears the responsibility of making sure that they are also getting as much supervision and someone to just walk them through as the kids that are in these schools? So we pick up from the teachers aspect, and big questions being, one, have the teachers been adequately trained, supported, and resourced to help implement this particular curriculum? And if at all they have been, let's assume we're living in utopia and they have been, what is missing? If they haven't, what is missing?
Yeah, I don't want to say no to all of them, but probably not adequately. And the most, we have to deal with the most traditional problem of inadequate teachers. So that is a global issue, but it varies from region to region. So sometimes we have acute shortages in these regions than in other regions. But the investment we talked about must invest, one, in the classroom. This teacher facilitated, both with the tools and with the skills. So if we are talking about teaching, it's not about just walking to the class. With the CBC, it's not the traditional walk into the class, teach, leave. It's a practical kind of teaching, including sports. So the question we should be asking is, are they adequately trained? The answer is no, with the one adequate in place. And also remembering that the adequate also means it varies across the country. There are areas in this country where we have enough teachers and they are properly equipped. Talk about the schools around us now in Nairobi and urban areas. Let's talk even about Nairobi and private schools. And national schools. If you go to Alliance this morning, the teachers are all in, and we can say fairly adequate. But talk about that school in my village in Kirinyaga. Talk about that village school there. They do not have adequate teachers. No, the adequate varies. It is not even adequate. Adequate, it's, it's something else. So they are not adequate, they don't have the skills. Then the other thing is when we talk of teachers, are the teachers where the learners are? And this is where data keeps on coming in. If we were to map teachers on this country and put them on a map, are they where children are, or are they skewed towards some areas, such that the children we intended to target are not the ones we are targeting? So you find that teachers will be in urban areas while the children are elsewhere. So that distribution also affects the workload of the teachers. So even when they are adequately resourced and they are dealing with many children, they might not be able to deliver.
Actually, let's talk about that data from your standpoint of view and what you've seen. How's the equity and access balancing out across the country? Because we can talk about urban areas. We know that it's more advantageous to be in urban areas, but we have far-reaching places in this country where food is a problem, water, drought, people are dying, lack of medical facilities. I can only imagine how much of a hit education is taking.
Equity and access. Yeah, there is a very big relationship, because in urban areas and I'll talk about Nairobi, schools are close to each other. And therefore you have a choice of where you want to take your kid. You can walk across the across the road. You have they are competing with the churches. So there are schools all over. That is not the case in the far left, children far left behind in those areas. Talk about areas like Garissa, Madera, that even some places like Tana River, throw in the mix conflict. Our traditional conflicts, cross-border, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia border, sometimes across this side of Uganda because of cattle rustling. That means some schools, even the sparse schools, remain inaccessible. Areas affected by floods sometimes. Now there's drought coming up. That means people have moved in those communities where they are nomadic. That means they are not moving the school. So access and equity has a relationship. The children in Nairobi are not affected even when there are problems, other than when there is maandamano. But those children out there are having another difficult time. So they initially were not accessing school anyway, would not access school. And even the schools that are there are sparsely distributed. That means that even I was reading a paper saying that for every 1 kilometer you add, you less access by about 20%. So for every kilometer you add. So if you continue increasing that distance, it tells you something. And we are not only talking about children who are in grade 9 who are big enough. We're talking about children in pre-primary who need to walk to school. So they can't go to school because they cannot walk long distances, for instance. Girls can't walk alone, you see. So those are the access issues now we can start talking about if you are to go that way. So the issue of equity even in teachers, are they evenly distributed? That is a question we never really seem to address. Are they properly trained to deal with CBC? I know there is a rule by TSC from a long time ago, I don't know whether it's formal or informal, where when you go to an interview and you graduated earlier, you get some more marks to absorb the backlog of teachers who had not been employed earlier, so that you make sure you are employing them from the back, coming forward. But when you employ a teacher who graduated 10 years ago, and you are to go and teach CBC, and we have graduates who are leaving now, who graduated last year with CBC skills, how now, and you bring them to the class. How is this data in the classroom informing teacher education? That feedback, the policy you talked about, that feedback loop of the experiences in the class, how are they informing that CBC so that we keep on iterating the learnings? We keep on adjusting, we keep on changing, improving, continuous improvement, the Kaizen philosophy. So do we wait until another 5 years, 10 years, we say, oh, we need to change the curriculum again? It's not a routine. It should be informed by continuous data, continuous evidence, continuous skills. We must adjust also to CBC skills, including the parents. You cannot be a CBC parent while you're still in the 844 mindset. So everybody must step up everybody to that for that policy to work. So we can continue pointing at government, but the government is just one of the stakeholders.
But Charles, when you bring in the parents, how are they supposed to be equipped if not by the school helping them understand this new system?
The parental agency. Let's not dilute the voices of the parents. Let it reach the policy makers in its raw form so that they are heard. Because it is really frustrating when you ask yourself, which parent said that? And yet, because outside here, maybe one of you is not a parent, but when you are out there listening, you just see, even when you are not bothered, you hear parents complaining in supermarkets, in bookshops, you're hearing them complaining. So who are these other parents who influence this side where they were not complaining? So the teacher agency, the voice of the parents, the parents agency, the voice of the parents should be undiluted. It should be heard clearly and completely so that we hear what they are saying. If they say it is expensive, we should not be deaf. We should listen to that. And sometimes the curriculum is made for the middle children, the median children, and not the children we are talking about, the far left behind. That curriculum continues to disadvantage those children. But if it is meant for those children you intended to reach, it lifts everyone.
Everyone up.
You see? So sometimes, if you're also listening to parents of the median learner, then you miss those other parents, the poor parents.
Yes.
If you listen to a parent like me who probably pays fees, pays fees for a whole year. Those parents who pay a whole year and they wait for next year.
Yeah.
It's not the same as another parent who goes and talks to the teacher like, can I pay this amount and then next month I bring another amount? It's not the same.
It's not the same.
The ball game is. So if we use my voice, we lose the other parent. If we go and say, oh, we need to build the teachers a house, let's all contribute 10,000. There is a parent who has not paid school fees.
Dr. Charles Gachoki is a manager research at Zizi Afrique Foundation, having that conversation with us. Fellaris,
I'm happy
interesting
that
angle I want to come
we
with.
went into the disparities that we're seeing amongst the learners, and as currently implemented, there's definitely a widening gap in terms of the learners who are coming, like you said, from the poor backgrounds, learners who are within private institutions and public institutions. So what quality of learners are we churning out, even before we get into the conversation of pathways? Because I'm also very curious to hear what you have to say and what your thoughts are on the desired outcomes and pathways. But let's look at the disparities, equity and access. Because it's not a plain level field as implemented right now. All the institutions, again, you have a very big gap between the learners. Is there any situation where we'd get to balance it out?
The Presidential Working Party, for instance, had a recommendation that we do away with this classification of schools, national, what. But we are still back to C1, C2, C3, C4. If you are in C4, I was discussing with a parent, one boy, on Monday when I was taking my child to school. And we were like, you take a child to a certain school and the child is already halfway to university. You know that?
Yeah.
100% you know. And that's why it is big pushing. I want to take my child here, even if the government says otherwise, I want to take them here because it's halfway. There is another one in a certain school. You saw it in the news that the first one had a D. You saw the parents demonstrating. Now that tells you that if you go to that school, you are assured.
Yeah.
You are as good as not having gone to school, to that school. You are the same. So those are those imbalances cannot be evened out unless we first of all do some of these recommendations. Let's do away with these because they are the ones which make it a cutthroat competition. That we and it, there's also rent seeking because it opens avenues for rent seeking. Underhand dealings of I want my child here. And also in the same manner to create fairness, if we are using the system to select learners, please use the system.
Yes.
Don't use the system. Then say, oh, teachers can also issue letters at some point. What you are opening an avenue. Then say, no, let's stop issuing letters. Let's go back to the system. So if we are using the system, and I'm assured, and Chiko is assured that our learners, our children will be selected fairly. We are good. But when we know that I can still use some method to get to this school, then that still entrenches the unfairness.
It creates an imbalance.
And back to the exams. Exams are not the best, because probably you are not good in English. You are good in sports. He is not good in sports and English. He is good in music. He is not good in that. He's good in that or something. But when we said we are seeing a creeping back to exams. Whether you call them exceeding expectations or whether you call them 500 out of 500,
a rose by any other name remains a rose.
The same. We know what we are competing for. So I mean, when we revert back there, we are still going to iniquities. And the best thing is invest in these schools. Invest in this. Forget this C4, C3. Invest and make a school doable. I mean, let it compete.
Yeah.
But there's something, Chiko, before you ask me that question, is somebody said, if you put a mathematics teacher from Alliance here, and you put another one from another school from a village, mathematics teacher here, you put them in the same room, they'll both be on their phone. They are teaching Kenyan children, Kenyan schools, went to the same universities, trained on the same, teaching same subject. But they have nothing to share, because already they can feel I'm from Alliance, or I'm from Mango, or I'm from this, school, and you are from another Bundu school. So they are like, we can't share anything. So the iniquities are all over, including parents, and that's why we said we have to change the mindset holistically. The parents feel like we are from Moi girls. We are parents of, this is how we do things there.
Yeah.
So what about other parents? It's like this. So, I mean, those iniquities continue even in society. That means we can also, even after school, we cannot compete favorably. So I think the best thing to do that is invest in skills for the teachers. Let the teachers be the same. The equipment, the schools, let them be brought at least to the same level. So that we are not competing to bring children to Alliance or Mango or Nairobi School.
Here's a question that Fellaris alluded to, which I would really like us to touch on, considering time. And I want you to speak as a parent and possibly as a researcher, or both, depending on whether or not you have divergent views, depending on the cap you're wearing, right? We're talking about, right about now, your child is in a position where they're choosing their career pathway. And we have the schools and the CBE system, which is supposed to guide them and guide the parents as well. Do you feel that parents and students are equipped adequately, there's that word again, adequately, in order to make good career path choices?
We carried out a research sometime, I think 2 years ago or 1 year ago, and it said only 10% of teachers are confident in career guidance. Only 10%.
What do you mean 10% in such a critical moment in a child's life?
So, some of those teachers need career guidance themselves. Why are you assuming that we have some people out there who you see, you see, some of these teachers require career guidance. Just like in media, there are some people you look at them and they are like, these ones need guidance. I mean, so if only 10% was confident, that's quite a critical gap. Number two, career guidance is not structured. It is not entrenched in the system. It's you, we sit here, what do you feel like you can do? It's not really a structured form of mentorship, coaching, and career guidance. It's not the way you'd imagine it. It's just talking, It's not really matched by proper structures. Who can do career guidance? And it cuts across who can guide us. I mean, so, and again, of abandoned teachers. Because of crowded classrooms. Sometimes we are hearing stories. I also read from the newspapers, a teacher is teaching, mathematics is teaching agriculture. You find those things. It's teaching across because of lack of teachers.
Yeah.
And you expect that teacher to guide in what subject? In which subject do you want them to guide? He is also the coach of football in the school.
Yeah, that's true.
So you see, and this again, I said, when I speak this way, it cuts across. So if the teachers are struggling to guide the learners, us parents now are in a worse off situation. So we take the position of how the same old story where you are one boy, your father wanted to be something, and therefore he started grooming you to that, started talking to you. You know, I would want you to be a doctor. You know, you look like a doctor. You would be a doctor. You would be. Yeah, we take that position. Nobody is also guiding us. We are only called to go and select pathways. I'm now talking as a parent. It bothers me as another person. We were called and given a volume, printed volume of school, all the schools in this republic. In 2025, we are still using hand paper, hand copies. So you go look at them and decide which pathway. First of all, you talk with your child. Ma'am, you think you can be what? And then, no, I think you can do well in sports. Or I think you of course, our traditional way, because I said we are not CBC, we still think what I did not achieve as a doctor, then you should be a doctor as a child.
Yeah.
So once you choose those ones, then, and that is not even enough. We chose schools initially based on the subjects strands that were offered in that school.
The school, yes.
Then the system placed you in a different school that did not have that strand or had a different strand. So we are in that space now. So the guidance you had done or whatever you did, now we have to go back to the drawing board and say, what is the school offering now? So you are, even the parent agency I was talking about, you're only called in a short while, in a day, to digest these materials, make a decision for your daughter, sign some document, and they proceed.
I have a final question here as we are about to delve into the news with you, Nia Amunga. Very quickly, your assessment of this new education system, and I want us to throw everything into the pot. What it was intended to do, the policy around it, what it looks like on the ground, what you're experiencing from the data and as a parent and from what we're hearing about parents. And when you brew it all together, what does the future of these young learners look like?
I would want to look at it from the half full glass and say, if you look at, if we really want to push this country towards the Vision 2030, it is a good thing that we are talking about 60% of the learners going to STEM pathway. That's a good, because we need a critical set of skills in certain areas, and therefore that's a good and bold move. And it has to be supported. But having said, and also as a parent, I'm feeling that the children are having some form of responsibility, some form of self-efficacy, self-confidence. If I was looking at those Form 1, no, they don't like being called Form 1s, but those senior school learners. Yeah. And I was like, when I look at them, they don't look confused the way we were confused when we were being admitted the first day. They're confident. They don't talk to each other. They are like, yeah, how are you? And then I took the grade 6 to school on Friday, and he was told something by the deputy teacher, and he asked why. And we all looked at each other like, this guy is. So there is self-efficacy, some self-responsibility, self-belief. So there is some light. That is what it would be intended to do. But there is a lot to be done in investment, mental change, shifts, even in the systems. And it involves everybody. Parents, teachers, stakeholders, funders. Funding is going down. So do we continue relying on bursary? She read something on bursary. The issue of CDF is there. Remember, that is some of the sources of school fees. The debate is still in the public domain. Do we retain it? What do we do with it? So it is a lot of, so there's a bright future for it. It can be shaped better, but there's a lot of ground to be covered if we are to acquire the 21st skills as we intend with the CBE.
Dr. Charles Gachoki, Research Manager, Research for Zizi Afrique Foundation, giving us his time. Thank you very much for that one. Leaving us on a note of funding as well, which has to be taken in consideration. University funding already starting to feel a challenge. Saw the story on the paper yesterday, 271, just under 271,000 students qualifying for university. That's nearly 30,000 more than last year, which will then bring a total different headache. And that's at the university level. We go down that ladder and it gets darker and darker and more worrying. But that, as he said, is something that we could deal with, and it is rather hopeful that we will see a light at the end of a tunnel if we move in the right direction. Keyword, move. That's Capital in the Morning. Thank you, Dr. Ari, for coming through and being very insightful as both a parent and a researcher.
I hope I've been.
You definitely have been.